G'day everybody, welcome back to the second part of our lessons for programming fundamentals. We are looking at requirements and specifications. In the previous video, we talked about development approaches and we looked at the 9 steps that are involved in developing an approach, developing software. And for this one, we're going to delve a bit deeper into the first 2. And it's going to be a very short video, but I wanted to spend some time talking about it for requirements and specifications. Firstly, let's have a look at 4 key terms. Feasibility, if something is capable of being completed. So in other words, do we have the time? Do we have the money? Do we have the people? Do we have the skill? An analyst, this is a person whose job it is to determine if something is feasible. In our case, for software development, we want to determine, is the software that our client wants able to be made? And is it able to be made in sort of the limitations of our project? Requirements, what must solution solve when we create it? So in other words, they want a banking app to be able to manage accounts, etc., etc. And specifications are what are the specifics the software needs to be able to do. It must be able to transfer money between people. It must be able to have automatic transfers, handle BPay, handle all those kind of things. All right, so moving into the deep end of an introduction. We have our, I think I said 9 before, there's 8 steps to our development approach. What I would like you to do is try and recreate that waterfall diagram from the last slideshow using Microsoft Visio to give you a bit of a taste of creating diagrams for software engineering. Now just quickly, let me quickly make a new tab. If I go to office or portal.office.com, which will probably redirect me to, Microsoft 365, we're going to jump into Visio, which is Microsoft's program that you can use to make flowcharts, to make all sorts of network diagrams, those kind of things. I'm just going to jump into the flowchart one, close these 2. And what you get is all your icons on the left-hand side and then basically a piece of paper in the middle. So control scroll wheel will zoom in and out. And then if you middle click and drag, it gives you the ability to drag that paper around. Let's chuck in a process and let's double click because the first process should be requirements. Oop, don't press enter like I did. And then what you can do to create the second step of our waterfall diagram, if you mouse over, you see you get these little gray arrows around the corners. Well, that's essentially saying what's the next icon that you want to produce for this diagram. So if I click it, choose the next diagram icon, there we go. And I can simply drag it around and that arrow, because it's now pinned to these little green points, green and white points, it'll actually follow it around. So specifications was our second step. Then you had design, etc., etc., etc. I'm going to leave it up to you guys to try and remember those steps and reproduce each one, please. Okay? And when you're done, come back to the slideshow, or this video, I should say, in the slideshow, and I'll continue going through it with you. Okay, so now that we've got our diagram, let's have a look at what the hell the requirements definition is. Realistically, it's basically getting the big picture stuff. It is sitting down with the client for the first time, talking to them about what their problem is, and talking about who the client is. So it's all well and good to have a mining company come and see you and say, we want an application to manage our WH&S. Why do they want that all of a sudden? Is there new laws? Did they get in trouble? Is there just something that's popped into their head and they've realized there's a big missing chunk of their business and they need to do it? How long have they been in operation? How many employees are going to be using this app? Okay, how are they going to be using the app? Is it on mobile? Is it on a tablet when they walk out at the end of the day? What are the different things for this scenario? Again, it's big picture stuff. What do you want? And who are you? Why do you want it? Those kind of things, okay? And this is part of the business system analyst's job in order to explore the problem and then figure out what do they need and is it feasible? Are they going to be able to actually make this thing? If they tell you that this software that they need for WH&S has got 300 workers and they're only going to give you $5,000 to make it, well, that's just not feasible. That's just way too much, okay? So you need to say, well, the budget needs to be bigger or we just can't make this. Next one. So how do you work with a client? Well, first of all, you move your big head over here. The first thing you do is you try and sit down and talk with them, and that's an interview. So that's a one-on-one. You can either interview directly a client or it can be a bunch of people that are going to use this app all that kind of stuff. But interviews are great, but they are slow at getting information. So getting things fast, surveys. Surveys are amazing. You can email links to people, you can give them bits of paper, and you can get hundreds of responses in minutes. But you get very narrowed, sometimes biased information because you've got set questions. You can't ask follow-up questions, things like that from a survey. Well, you can, but it takes time to identify the person and then go find the person, then interview the person. And again, interviews are slow. Okay. The next one is direct observation. Well, if these people are having issues and they don't know how to use, if there's something they're doing on a day-to-day basis and it's slow, go and watch them do their work, okay? Go and ask them questions about what's slow in your day, what's that you're doing there, what's this process you're following, etc., etc. And the last one, time management studies. This is more for like giant businesses that if they've got like all the tasks that their workers do and then a rough allocation of time for those tasks, you can look at those and figure out which tasks can be made faster with your new solution. So this is all requirements. What about specifics? How do you determine specifications? Well, now that you've got the problem and the requirements, you sit down and say, okay, what functions does our program need? What input is the user going to put into the software? And what output do they need? Do they need reports? Do they need diagrams? Do they need breakdowns of data? All that kind of stuff. Again, it's specifics. Okay, so I'm going to give you a quick little scenario, back to Fun with Flowers. I want you guys to have a think about that online catalog that they want. They want customers to be able to browse a catalog, purchase bouquets, and write personal messages. So I want you to, first of all, what are the requirements? Who is the client? Okay, what do they need from this problem? And then finally, write down all the specifics, including the inputs. So in other words, like the orders and their name and their address and those kind of things. And what are the outputs? Hopefully it's things like orders, invoices, and also finished flower bouquets with messages, those kind of things. Okay, and that actually brings us to the end of this slideshow. It's a very quick and easy one today, but hopefully you get a better understanding of requirements and specifications as a result.